Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whenever you are. Welcome to another episode of the Community Live Stream, the webcast for ServiceNow administrators, developers, where I go through ServiceNow community that you see right behind me and not only answer questions and issues, but also provide the insights to how I got to those answers. I don't just throw things out and say, there you go. I want to give you an explanation of what's going on, give you a thought process. This is Friday, June 22nd. Oh my goodness, there goes another week. My name is Chuck Tomasi. I'm a senior TPMM here at ServiceNow, where I've been on the platform for about 10 years. Some people have also called me the ServiceNow guy with the cool bow tie. But you can follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn. Just look up Chuck Tomasi. You'll find me. Not a problem. My experience for the last 10 years has largely been around applications, custom applications, integrations, and the platform in general. Hey, I want to thank everybody. Speaking of LinkedIn, I want to thank everybody for all of the anniversary wishes. I just passed my 8-year anniversary at ServiceNow, which I guess makes me a dinosaur. It's not even an old timer. I think you're an old timer at 3 years. You're a dinosaur at 6. That's how fast we move at ServiceNow. It's crazy. Along this 1-hour journey, I will share with you experiences. I will share insights, any quick tips, any shortcuts, the answers, the thought process. We'll do some experimentation. It is going to be a joyride because it is completely unscripted. I don't know what's shown up in the community overnight. I don't know what's going to show up in the next hour, but I hope that you decide to show up because we stream this every day on YouTube at 6 a.m. Pacific time, or Mountain Standard to be more precise, from Phoenix, Arizona, and 1 p.m. UTC. So wherever you are, you can do the math, and that's why I kind of give that general opening of wherever you are and whenever you are. Subscribe at the URL right there. Subscribe to that channel, and you will, of course, get the notifications. I'm just going to check and make sure my notifications got here. Yep, there it is. See there? ServiceNow is on the air live. So looking forward to that. You also find something helpful in this video, go ahead and click that like button. Oh, bit of a sore throat this morning. I'm going to be putting away a lot of water. I don't have any tea. So for whatever reason, I'm not going to be making too much tea in the summertime. You can figure it out. Excuse me, but we will try to keep the vocals clear and the communication coming and the information flowing. So a little bit of a sore throat from last night. We did have a wonderful meetup. I'll get to that in just a little bit. So again, if you find something useful in here, click that like button. It helps others. We also simulcast this on Twitch. So if YouTube isn't your thing or you prefer to watch on Twitch, some people do that. I need to make this window slightly smaller so I can keep an eye on that Twitch window. I have the two sort of layered up behind each other. So I am watching both at the same time just to make sure technically things are working. And yeah, there we go. Looks great. Also, if you have a comment on YouTube or Twitch, give me a shout out in the comments. Love to say hi to you. It's a great time meeting everybody that comes here. Thank you very much for joining us live. If you're not watching live, of course you're watching later, may not work out with your schedule, then please feel free to add a comment in the regular YouTube comments, and somebody will relay that to me because this isn't my YouTube account. It belongs to the community, and I'm just borrowing it for this stream. They were gracious enough to let me do that. The community is at community.servicenow.com. So if you've got a question or an issue or just general inquiry and you want to know, can something be done or what's the best way to do that before you jump in and do it yourself, go over to community.servicenow.com and you can post your question there. Please post one per post. So put one thing in at a time. It'll be easier to respond. It'll be easier to find. It'll be easier to mark correct. It's just easier. Kind of get the theme there? And make sure that you put it in the right sub-forum. So put it where it technically belongs. If it's a question about discovery, you put it in the ITOM section, not in the developer section, because developers may not know everything there is to know about ITOM, and the ITOM specialist will miss it. So good for you, good for them, good for everybody else if you get that in the right spot. I also want to remind you that you can go over to Where? Developer, I almost looked at the label. Where? Oh, there. Developer.servicenow.com to get your free personal developer instance. Show you what that looks like in the background. We also have all of the scripting APIs. There's a remnant of what we were looking at yesterday for the add join query. Useful information over there if you're getting into scripting. Oh, slight modification. I don't know if you noticed, but different chair this morning. You won't see the little ears pop up. Fun fact, hit my elbow, my funny bone, the ulnar nerve, I think it is, technically. And I hit it on that chair so many times that I don't know if you've ever hit your funny bone twice in a row. Totally off topic here. But yesterday I hit it for the second time in 24 hours, and I thought it was a shorter term than this. It feels like a gunshot going through your lower arm. And I just said, that's it, enough. So I swapped it out with the chair that's over on the video machine. And hopefully that won't happen again. I'm sort of checking my elbow range here. A little different because I don't have any arms on this chair, but it's about the same height. We're good. We're good. Everything's cool. Less chance of injury, less chance of profanity in the household, and that's always a good thing, right? So go over there. You can get free learning paths, learning plans. What are we calling them? Let me see. Learning plans. Okay, they are learning plans. I will change that verbiage in the appropriate places. But you can get learning plans. Learn all about how to become an effective ServiceNow developer. We also have all kinds of information about meetups, which I do want to put that away and bring up the meetups. We had a wonderful one in Phoenix, as I mentioned last night. Mike Stockman talked about agent intelligence, artificial intelligence, intelligent agents. I know that sounds like a whole lot of... Did something just turn off? I think my front porch light. I saw a light out of the corner of my eye go off, and I get worried in the studio when stuff like that happens. Must be sunrise, so the automatic sensor lights are going off. And the, distraction, again. Squirrel. We talked a lot about machine learning, and it was kind of fun because he was being a very strong advocate for why now is the right time to be on ServiceNow with all of this machine learning and artificial intelligence coming into the play with virtual agents, and the stuff that's coming up in London is very, very exciting. I just sat back and went, wow, okay. Someone's been drinking the Kool-Aid, as the bad metaphors go. But it was very enjoyable. Then I did, or attempted to do a spreadsheet import for a TechNow application. I do the other web series called TechNow. It's a monthly web series, again, for developers and administrators on all aspects of the Now platform. And we had some problems. A simple spreadsheet import into a simple table, 4 fields, first name, last name, calculated name, and email. And I could not get this thing to import. It was driving me bananas. I had a room full of people that have done imports before. Still didn't work. We tried an easy import. We tried a full-on data source. Couldn't get it working. This morning I woke up with a fresh head and I said, I wonder if it has something to do with the cross-scope privileges, despite the fact that I had already imported a sheet from that same Excel workbook. There were 4 sheets in there. I imported number 3. This time we were trying to import number 2. Number 3 worked fine. I did not have to modify the cross-scope privileges. I'll dig into that a little more if you want to hear about that. But anyway, it said, all right, all scopes can can create and can update. And it came in just fine. 20 test records loaded like that. Not a problem. So I've got a query into our developer saying, am I crazy or is there a bug here? Which is always a possibility, the crazy thing. We also have other events. This event list is now pretty much obsolete except for that last event. But if you want to find out more current information about our events, go over to our servicenow.com page and go to events.html. There's a teeny little link at the bottom. We are in the process of redesigning that whole servicenow.com structure. Look for some great new information around there, and hopefully events will be a little more prominent than they are now. But you can get replays on existing events. Hold on. We got the sneeze police on high alert right now. So this will be fun. I either have to keep talking Had my finger on the mute button just for that. Okay. It's going to be one of those days. Happy Friday, everyone. And one last note. Webinar for Tech Now is coming up on the Script Debugger on July 10th, 8 a.m. Pacific Time. Register at the link below on the bit.ly link that you see down there and get signed up for that. We have a wonderful group ready to present. Again, new presenter, or a new host. Not doing presentation yet, but this new host will be in attendance working hard on your Q&A. So I've got the material drafted, ready to go. Very excited to show you that. And I'm also very excited to get started in the community. Let's get started. Get going. Flip over to this screen. There's lots of discussion going on already. Good morning, ServiceNow fan. Good morning, everybody who is following and watching. Yes, of course. West Liberty Foods, Bill Barthel. I used to work with a Bill Barthel a long time ago. Can you give some suggestion on how to best implement a dynamic notification, i.e. person on call or SMS? I've got some ideas. Again, if you want more ideas than just mine, then the best place to ask that would, of course, be the community, and you'll get lots and lots of ideas. My first thoughts before I get into this would be that if you know there is an on-call library, I believe there's an API in there. You would do this through a script. So when it's time to trigger the notification, you look up who's on call and use the gs.eventQueue method. So if you look under Glide System, there is a method called, along with all this date time stuff, GSEventQueue. And you pass it an event name, as well as a glide record, the data you want to work on, 2 event parameters, which could be the recipients, could be something else, whatever you want. They're string parameters. You can pass literally anything you want in there if you encoded it as JSON and then did a decrypt. But I'm not going to get into that right now. And use the event to trigger notifications. So, for example, here's one that says GSEventQueue incident.commented. That's just a name that exists in the event registry. You can make up your own by putting them in the event registry. And then notifications can be triggered by event. So if I look at notifications, it's like a live call-in show now. Hello, caller 3, what's your question? I'd like to do dynamic notifications. All right. Better than the cooking show. At least I don't have to worry about burning something. When you create a notification, I am going to, let's see if we can find that incident updated one. Filter. Where event. Come on, filter. There we go. And event name is incident.updated. Updates. You got to be able to spell and read and type. And there's a couple. So incident.updated triggers a few things. You can have one event trigger multiple actions. That's not uncommon. And then use your filter to say, which of these should I respond to? Which is handy in a language situation. If you've got multiple languages, you may have one that says, your incident has received a comment in English, Chinese, Spanish, and French. Yeah, you could have the filter in there say, is the recipient's language French, Chinese, whatever. So if the incident state changes to resolve, you could say event is fired and say the event name is incident.updated. This has actually been redone because look, I filtered for this incident, but it wasn't in use that way. It said record is inserted or updated. That's intriguing. This looks like a legacy notification that's been modified, but they did not remove the old value. Interesting how that search came up like that. So that's my 2 cents on that, as how I would approach that. Good morning, Carolyn. Good to see you. ServiceNow fan says, I just checked all live stream videos, wanted to watch them from the... Oh my goodness. I do not see any sequence. They're all mixed up. Do not think it's the way it should be. Go to the playlist. If you go to, I'm going to show you, youtube.com/user/ what did I say? Now Community, ServiceNow Community. youtube.com, see if I spelled that right, /user/ServiceNow Community. And there is a playlist called Community Livestream. They should be in order there. We're pretty darn close. I'm not going to give you the echo treatment, but there's good old number 1 from September. Oh, that's December 18th. You're right. These are a little bit mixed up, aren't they? You know why? I think I started building the playlist after I started doing that, but more recent ones should be in fairly close order. March, April, May. I'll go fix that. That's easy enough to fix in the playlist. Very easy to fix. There's where the logo changed from black to green. And away we go. So yeah, the early ones look like they're a little bit out of order. And I think that's because I created the playlist a few weeks in and they just didn't come in right. The very first one I think was November 20th. You'll see some differences. There was like no intro. I just turned on the camera and started talking. There was no music. There was no... but I think I did start with the good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Every day I think of something that might make the show a little bit better. Sometimes I put it in, sometimes I don't. Okie dokie. Community time. Let's go to our main page. I think we're on the main page, but it doesn't know who I am. Anyone else notice this? The login, the credential thing gets a little out of whack. It says, you need to log in, but I am logged in. So where's my threads? Let's go. Okay. There's my icon. And then it says, okay, you're logging in. I'm going to redirect you. And then it redirects me and it says, you're logged in. But I didn't actually enter any credentials. How to make field type wiki mandatory. Ooh, that's a good one related to knowledge. We were playing around with this on, was it Live Coding Happy Hour a couple of weeks ago with Andrew Barnes. If you haven't watched Live Coding Happy Hour, you can find that over at ServiceNow Dev Program on YouTube. Quick plug for the other show. I think I've hit just about all of them. Tech Now, Live Coding Happy Hour. I didn't mention Tech Shorts. It's not really not really a live anything. Hello, on knowledge base article, you can make a field type wiki. Can you make it mandatory? When I try using the UI policy, this is what happens in a client script. It gave me an error. Unchanged client script, cannot read property, remove class name. What if you did it from the dictionary level? Let's try this out. Go to my personal developer instance that I got from developer.servicenow.com and go to knowledge, all. Actually, I'd probably do create new. Let's do create new instead. Create new. And I don't have a text field on here, but if I do configure form layout, oh, you know why? It's not on there because it's not that type. If you change the article type to wiki, then the wiki field shows up. Can you do a right-click configure dictionary? Do you want to leave? Yes, I want to leave. And make that read-only. I say we try that. Oh, you know what? If I do that, this is going to be interesting. Watch. If I do that, if I make it mandatory via the dictionary, it's always going to be mandatory. And therefore, when my article type is HTML, the wiki field is going to show because the UI policy is smart enough to say, this is a mandatory field. I'm not going to hide it. That would be cruel and unusual punishment to make a mandatory field hidden. You'd never be able to submit your form. So if I put in foo here and knowledge base IT there, can I save it? Yeah, so even though that's mandatory and it's showing on the form, it's not enforcing it because wiki is of type, probably something crazy, wiki text. Yeah, that's interesting. I think the type wiki text is a little, it's very interesting in its characteristics. Okay, I tried making it mandatory from the dictionary. And even when the type was HTML, the field was displayed, but no asterisk to show it was mandatory. Nor did it complain when I submitted the form, and it was not populated with anything. Now here's the big question. Drum roll, please. Can you explain the use case you have for the wiki field and type? I don't see it used very often. Very often. Okay. I'm curious. I want to know. Anybody else use that? we were playing around with it just sort of as a temporary storage space, a reusable onboard out-of-box field on Live Coding Happy Hour. The idea was to try and store these things in Markdown. This is the next generation of what we'd like to do to help manage the content management for our Knowledge Conference. Last year, if you were at Knowledge 18, we took all of the lab guides, no more Word documents, no more printed lab guides, saved a lot of money on paper, led to some very good process improvements, even last-minute changes by the author. I mean, quite literally a day or two, whereas in the past when we had to have it printed, it's like everybody stop working 3 weeks before Knowledge because we have to get this to the printers. And then people would discover bugs and we had to have addendums and slides on the screen that said, oh, on page 53, type this instead of whatever is in your manual. And it just got really messy and kind of a hack. With the electronic ones, we not only save a lot of money, but we can reproduce or republish that content on the developer portal. You could, if you went to Knowledge, you can go to the developer site and review those labs. The lab guides are still out there. You may not have your instance set up exactly the way we did at Knowledge, which would be really nice to put in the lab guide. It says if you want to do this on your own, you need a London instance with these plugins turned on. So you could reproduce that. Sample data, we can make that available. I'm not sure. That's a whole nother thing. Anyway, separate discussion. But we want to make that process a little more efficient because right now we were doing everything in Visual Studio Code. So it was a text editor. Not bad. It was a decent experience. But if we could do that in ServiceNow, it would be all on platform. And then we can continue the publishing process so that people can log into a familiar interface, do their editing in HTML or whatever, and then it will convert it over to Markdown, which is what we use in the lab guides, which is kind of crazy because if you wrote it in a wiki article in HTML and it converted to Markdown, and then ultimately the browser is going to get HTML back. Does that seem a little bizarre to you? Anyway, what is the passing score for a CSA exam? CSA, Certified System Administrator? I believe it's 60%. 75? Okay, it's 75. That was answered very quickly. What is the minimum score to pass? And the answer is you don't know. There is score. It's just pass or fail displayed after the exam. I think it's 45 out of 60. Yeah, and by the way, they don't tell you. I don't think they ever... Yeah. Here, I'm going to reply to that reply. Cancel this, cancel this, cancel this. Still the policy where... Sadly, they don't tell you your score. It's one of the few places I've ever taken a test that doesn't report your score. They just tell you pass or fail. Makes it hard to study if you have to do a retake. This is one of the few places I've seen that is so vague. I'm not sure why. Maybe somebody in the training industry knows more about it and can explain why. I mean, I understand that this is intellectual property. We want to keep it from getting public and people publishing the answers and the questions. It devalues the whole thing if you can cheat. But I don't understand the reason why you would not say, okay, you got 80 or you got 95 or you got 97 or you got 100. Why would that be such a secret? I don't know. One thing in the inbox, I'll get back to that in a second. My instance is getting very slow whenever I impersonate someone. That's in the Now Platform section. The perfect place for... No, I'm sorry. That should be an instance help. Make sure you put it in the right space, people. There are people that are monitoring that in instance help. Is it anyone? Let's see if we can narrow this down. Don't have an exact answer, but can maybe help get some information. My instance build is Kingston patch 6. What's mine? I thought did we upgrade recently? You can find out your exact version by going to stats.do, which is also under System Diagnostics Stats. And the first couple lines will tell you, I am on Kingston patch 3. Crazy, man. How did he get a dev instance with Kingston patch 6? Don't know. I know it's out there. Maybe I need to request an upgrade. Can I do that? Theoretically, yes. Upgrade. I know I can request it from high. Let's see. Upgrade history, upgrade log, last upgrade. We're getting into an upgrade discussion. Totally hadn't expected that. Slow patterns. No, we're not going to look at that. Upgrade log. Why is there often 2 of the same replies on the community like the one you are doing? When it's marked correct, this one isn't, I'm sorry, Carolyn, I might have missed it. But when it's marked correct, you will see the correct one percolate to the top, and then it will be shown in context of where it was. So if it's the only comment, and somebody says, hey, why is XYZ? And someone replies, and it's the only reply, and it's marked correct, it will be percolated up to the top, but also you'll see it in context of a whole one. Hope that makes sense. Mine's only at 3 as well. And interesting. And let me look at my log. Upgrade check instance already running a signed version. Patch 3. Upgrade monitor shouldn't say anything. Patch 3. No upgrade detected. Check now. Could ruin the whole show if we sit here and wait for an upgrade. Upgrade in progress. I have a backup plan though. I'd have to go wake up another instance. Okay, apparently it doesn't work like that. It'll check in an hour. Crazy. I wonder how we got to patch 6 on that one. Or 7, or 5, or whatever it was. Let's see. What was I going to reply on this one? I don't even remember. Oh, no, now I can't remember. Is it all users or just one? Have you checked for any running processes, etc. in stats.do? Good morning to everybody who's joined. We're a few minutes in, but you didn't miss a whole lot. Well, maybe you did. I don't know. Go back and rewatch. You're gonna watch from the beginning? That's a lot of content. Hope you got a couple of weeks. I'd rather binge a Netflix series though. That's just me. Luke Cage season 2 is coming out soon, or 3, whatever we got. Go back to unreplied. I'm still digging through the news. Skype integration with ServiceNow Connect chat. Seems like that should go into the integrations. Let's see what they're saying. I don't have any answers or any thoughts. I've never heard of anybody doing this, but it's interesting to see what's going on. We have a requirement of integrating Skype Business with ServiceNow Connect Chat. For the integration, we are using UCWA API as documented in the Skype documentation. Please find the steps which I've done below. I am able to successfully create the application as per the documentation. Next, I am able to set the presence of the virtual account, which will be used as the intermediate between the end user and the service desk agent. Please let me know how to proceed further from here. It means that how we bring messages to service. Now, I've never heard of this before. That's intriguing. I want to follow that to see what comes out of it. So I click subscribe and away we go. Recursion using UI macro calling itself. Ooh, that sounds fun. Wonder what the use case is here. I want to traverse a tree and display a UI in a UI page. So basically I call a UI macro at the root of the tree. There is a loop present inside the UI macro which prints the children and call the same UI macro to repeat the functionality. But this is not working. All right, how big and nasty is this UI macro? There's the UI page, which does a G2 evaluate, does some JavaScript to build the tree, I'm assuming. Yes. Oh, I got a little quick tip that I want to show you that came out of an email thread from somebody else. That object declaration just reminded me of it. Then there's a div tag, and there's the macro invoke of custom tree, and it passes in the tree name. So for each item in the tree, it goes and creates the macro. And then in the macro, they're doing the same thing. Okay, these are all running at J2, so square brackets. I'm going way back. The first 3 videos we did on Tech Now in 2005 were on Jelly. So I'm looking for anything obvious that might jump out at me. J2, G2, these are all phase 2. Is everything phase 2 up here? Looks like it in the UI page. Doesn't really matter, but ideally, you don't want to do toString here. Ideally, you should be using getValue. Arduino while toString query tree2. You're still converting it to a string and getting the value. This is equivalent of doing a getValue, but it's ugly. It's like, I don't know. I don't like toString unless you're dot walking more than one dot. GetValue is much clearer, much more elegant, and should be used. So, JVAR tree label, they're passing in. Are you getting any errors? Are you getting any errors? Are you getting any output? First 2 key questions that are always asked. See where that goes. I might be getting myself into a jelly discussion that I don't have a whole lot of time to follow up on, but we'll find out. Maybe somebody else can jump in on that one. Good morning, Balaji. How would I remove unsubscribed link from notifications? Notification preference link should be available for the end user. You're talking about at the bottom of each message? There should be a notification setting in the notification to if it's subscribable or not. And if it's not subscribable, then you shouldn't have that. So if I go to System Notifications, Notification, and I look at one of these things, I'll just take this one out of IT Service Management. And I can see on who will receive. If I go to Advanced View down here. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't need Advanced View, but there it is. Subscribable. This one's not subscribable, so it should not have a subscribe link on the bottom. So check and see first if your message is subscribable. Allow users to choose this notification when subscribing to their messages. See if that's in there. That will also be where it shows up under the gear menu, notifications, and you can go into the, oh, I'm sorry, that was personal notifications. Never mind that. Never mind. So hopefully that helped. Let's go. Is there a tool that converts GitHub commit to an update set? What are we looking for here? This is interesting. We're crossing the streams here with source control, and my mouse just stopped. I've realized that a side effect of committing a scoped app to Git repo deletes all customer changes from the current update set. It does? All customer changes from the current update set. I've also realized that syntax for the updates made to GitHub repo are very similar to that of update sets that are exported to an XML file for a local instance. Has anybody developed a tool that could convert a GitHub commit to an update set? It would be really useful for deployment since we would no longer need to use the publish app to update set related link, which doesn't capture file deletions and takes a long time to commit to other instances. Okay, I can give you a reason why the deletes don't come across. It's largely because of the store. If I'm an application creator and I say, here's version 1 of my application, and it's got these 3 tables. And then later in version 2, I say, oh, we don't need one of those tables. And I delete it. You may have very useful information in that table that I just deleted. So whether it's a table, a field, an ACL, I'm not allowed, as an ISV, I'm not allowed to delete things from your instance. the best practice is to deactivate those. And if I've got records on my system, if it's one of my tables in my application, I should add an active field to that and reference it accordingly with a reference qualifier. So best practice is don't delete. The catch is, and we've discovered this, is when you're modifying choice lists with a scoped app, those don't get published, the choice modifications, because it's quite literally deleting records. If I say I've got these 3 states for my particular process, okay, let's say it's work in progress, close complete, and canceled. I'm using those 3. And later I say, change work in progress, deactivate it, but put in another one. And I've modified that. And somewhere in there, sys_choice table has removed an entry for you. You're not using it on that particular process anymore. It doesn't publish those. And in a lot of cases, your sys_choice entries don't get published. That has been fixed in London. I asked that specifically to our developers because people have been beating on us since scoped apps came out to get the choices fixed. So that is one exception where deletes will get published, is the choice list modifications. If you know of others, let me know. But usually the best practice is to make records deactive. Just found out by default, subscribable remains unchecked for all the notifications. Is there any other way out there? I'd have to do a little more digging into notifications and understand what your use case is. I'm not sure. My recommendation, Balaji, would be to post that into the community where you're going to get a lot more eyeballs on it and some bigger brains than mine this morning. So that's my story around GitHub repo. Nobody that I'm aware has created a tool like this, but I would like to be aware of it and understand what the use case is. But I will include my good news. The good news is that deletions, at least sys_choice, that sys_choice deletions are fixed in London, coming out Q3 2018. Best practice for other deletions is to deactivate fields, etc., ACLs, etc. Probably going to get me into a political war somewhere, but let's find out. I always like to understand what the customers are doing and why they're trying to do it. Pop up on login and dashboard conflicts. Sounds like 2 questions. Impact of upgrades to embedded help. I'm going to refresh this. It is 20 minutes of the hour, and there's still a couple topics that I want to cover. Let's open up the email box, see what's new in there. I've got a reply before I move on to the next topic. How to make the field type mandatory. Lenka responds back. I also tried making it mandatory from the dictionary, and it did not make the field mandatory. Sounds like a bug. What's the use case? Still didn't explain that. Okay, I did ask a question in there, and they didn't respond. How rude. I'm guilty of doing that as well. Sounds like a bug. You might want to reach out to customer support to find out if there, how about a 2 in there? Find out if there is a known PRB. Yeah. Again, ding. There we are. I haven't been hitting the desk bell today. Shame on me. What's the passing score for CSA exam? Another response from DSM. Down here, replies, I'm trying to gauge my readiness for the exam. I believe I'm ready. Yeah. Thanks for the redraw here. And we've got a couple of responses here. I'm going to use this link up here that says Go to content, because I cannot see this thing. It keeps redrawing. It's in half a screen. That was irritating. Where's my show all responses? Show all replies. Ding. So Carolyn, here's the case where you see it twice. This one has a green border around it. You can see that's the accepted solution. This one has a check mark by it, so I know that this is the same response. But there are 5 total replies. We want to make sure that when somebody's looking, they say, here's the question and here's the right answer. They don't have to go digging for the right answer. It's right there at the top. And if we took it out of context, then there may be replies to this reply that also make it a big mess. So I'm trying to gauge my readiness for the exam. I believe I am ready, as I have reread the class manual, done some fictional things with my dev instance, and have worked as a BA on the platform for the past 10 years. I was looking for a mark to help me determine confidence. If it's 70 or 75, I'm good with scheduling my exam. Yeah, I'd say go ahead. You have no problem. I've taken other certification exams that just print out a pass-fail, but you don't have to obtain a minimal percentage to correct answers to get a pass response. Back in the 90s, when I was taking exams at Novell, CNA, CNE, woo, you just admitted your age. Questions were weighted, and you had to obtain a minimum score. Wow, interesting. I would say you are more than ready to take the CSA. I think I was using it for about 4 years. And the sysadmin class that I went through in 2008 was substantially different than what we have today. In some ways, it covered more. It was a two-day course, not a 3-day course. In some ways, it covered more material in less of a printed manual. So it wasn't so step-by-step. It was very conceptual, and let's go through this together. Now you try. Not saying that was a better approach, but I remember covering a lot of things that are no longer in the sysadmin course, or now it's is it the fundamentals, foundations, something like that. But there's a lot of things that were moved on to implementation specialists. There were a lot of things around workflow that were moved on to the advanced sysadmin course. So things shifted around, and I think that was to give people a little more focus on what's important. I have not taught a sysadmin class since 2011, 2012. Might have been my last one. I do remember who the last one was for. It was for Ancestry.com. And I still keep in touch with those people. Okay, a couple of tips that I have for the day. Let me look. I wanted to mention these. There was one around sorting a many-to-many list. So when you go into a slush bucket, I've got my date application here that I wrote for simple demo in my personal developer instance. The question was, when you see a slush bucket, is there any way to sort the days of the week? So I have this community live stream app that I've picked on. And in here I have a date field, a date number, but I also have this weekdays, a reference to the weekdays list. And if I hit edit, it says, here are your weekdays. And they said, I want to sort these so that Monday is first or Sunday is first or whatever. And I said, all right, well, maybe. I said, that's a good requirement. Maybe there's a table in there. You know what? I'm just going to look in the record table. Let's put one in. I'm going around in circles here this morning. Sorry about that. Let's put Friday on there just so we can take a look at the Friday record and understand what table it's from. And it puts that many-to-many relationship on there. And the table is scope name, DP, M to M. You know what? Let's go in Studio. It's easier. Studio can take me to where I want to go with the Date Picker app. The reason I'm so confused is because I did a start from scratch rather than create custom application when I built this. So here's my weekday table. And my weekday table is very, very simple. I have a name, and I said, what if I put an order field on there? And I said, let's put a value, just like a choice list or something. It has a value, and maybe I can sort on that. So I started searching around, and I said, this table is a reference field, which you need for the many-to-many. Then I made the many-to-many table itself, which links, of course, the parent record with the related list record. Actually, it's just two in the same. I did reference fields and display values and many-to-many tables before. But here's a reference to my CLS record. Here's a reference to my weekday record. That's where the many-to-many relationship comes in. And I said, well, what about, can we sort on that? I said, well, obviously you can go like this. And I dot walked to put the value on there as well. But by doing that, I said, all right, fine, put them all in there. Whatever this is, it's available all days of the week. And by having value on there, I can obviously go, great, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That doesn't affect my slush bucket, though. Now, if I move these all back, right, they're still in the kind of crazy wrong order. I'm not sure what drives this or what's there. I said, okay, option 2, let's look under list control. Is there any method of sorting? So configure list control. List control is very helpful if you haven't been there. Lots of things you could say, hey, I don't want people to be able to create new records. Take that new button off. And then when you look at it, I've used this many, many times because you may want just to be able to make these associations, make these relationships, but not create new records. This might not be the place where you want to create new weekdays. You may not want to create new weekdays at all. Then again, you may, if you need more time on your hands. So list control is very powerful. Take a look at it, but I did not see anything in here about sorting. You can omit the edit button. You can omit the list completely if it's empty. You can give it a different name. If the label weekdays isn't right, you can just say, call it days. Save that. Next time I go back there, you'll see nothing about sorting. Now, I thought maybe it's in the filter, because sometimes when you're building a list filter, you can group by or sort things like in a report. Nope, nothing there. So my brute force approach, as sad as this is to go into these records. I'm going to go to my table and say show list. Oops, that's my many-to-many list. I don't want that. I want the list off of this one. My weekday, show list. And I said, sad but true. This is all I could come up with. Let's change the label from Monday to 01 Monday. Okay, that will, of course, sort. You see, it automatically did it for me. Then Tuesday would become 02 Tuesday, or just 2 Tuesday. Whatever you want to put in here, that will make it sort. This might look a little better if we just called it 1 Monday. I'm missing a space, but you get the basic idea out of that. And then you can put them there. And now when you go to your many-to-many table, click that. I renamed the label to days. You can see that is now days up here instead of weekdays. And it sorts as 1, 2, 3, even though, oops, excuse me, not there. Not there. That's still sorting by value. Put these all back. Of course, they'll look really nice there. And I'll show you, even if nothing is selected, it will sort alphabetically. It's going by the display value. It's sorting the display value alphabetically. There's no other value. There's no under ref AC, whatever this, whatever that. So it's crazy. And then, of course, I sent them a link to the enhancement request. Said that if this is something you really require, let us know. The product managers do listen. If it's something simple to fix, we'll fix it. We'll add an attribute. I don't know. Put something on the list control. See what we can get out of that. More questions. FYI, I was able to update the patch 6 on the developer page on my instance. Really? Well, I want to see that. Manage instance. That would make sense. Because production instances and customer instances, not the personal developer ones, are initiated from high. Hey, here comes the waste disposal team. Maybe you can celebrate with me. Let's do upgrade instance. Being on the latest, you want to upgrade to patch 6 now. Score! +1 for you. All right, so if you want to get to patch 6, you know how to do it. Go to the developers.servicenow.com. Under the Manage menu, click Instance. Under the Action menu, click Upgrade Instance. Yay! Thank you very much. I was able to update to patch 6 on my instance. Good job, Carolyn. Good morning, everybody. Kevin, good morning. That's all right. It's a late start. I wasn't sure I was going to get started this morning. That was anything but a good night's rest. And I thought, oh, this is going to kill me at 6 a.m. But like I said, this is what gets me out of bed in the morning, people. You make it all worthwhile. All right, that was one. The one I was going to show you yesterday, I think I did show you. I talked about user criteria and how it's applied. All right, let's go to another freebie topic. This is just random stuff I think about during the day that I thought might be interesting. You tell me if it is or not. Processors. I covered this on Tech Now a couple of years ago. But processors really drive a lot of what's under the hood in ServiceNow. And you can find them under System Definition Processors. This has nothing to do with your CPU. These are what process the data you've been given or process something to spit it out. Quick example of how to use this. I'm going to bring up my text editor so you can see it a little bit better because it's going to be in the URL. And if I say https dev 20465 is my instance, servicenow.com. Oh, the text editor's being slow. I still haven't opened a request to get a new machine here. I really, really hope that happens soon. I have some good uses for that. And if I say incident underscore list dot do, I can add on this. And it says, okay, I'm going to use the list processor to generate this list. But, oh, hey, there's this argument down here that says XML. And if I look under, I think it's, I got to look at one of these things because I can't remember where it is. It's under the path params or parameters. Okay, so let me look that up in the list real quick and say filter where parameters is XML. There it is. It's a global processor. It's implemented in Java, so you're not going to see the actual underlying code. If it said script, then you could take a look at it down here. But what this tells me is there is an XML processor, and if I open up a tab in my browser and take that URL, I can, this is a very powerful feature of ServiceNow that's not really appreciated by too many people. There's the XML. I can send, say, an HTTP request from a third-party application and say, give me these particular records. Maybe I even augment that with and sysparm query equals active equals true and sysparm limit equals 1. Okay, let's try that. I think I got that right. I just told it I only want the active issues and I only want one of them. And theoretically, I should have one and only one record in here. No, I got 2. Something must be wrong with my query, but that's okay. I have more than one. Is it sysparm limit? Count? Record limit? I'll have to go to the REST API and figure it out, but that's the way it should work. A lot of these are built in, and every table has this. It doesn't matter which table you go for. There's XML, there's CSV, of course. You've probably already seen this. I'm just pasting these back into my browser, and it should download a CSV for me of those same records, all the incidents that I've got. Let's open that up. I don't know what it's going to open it up with. Maybe a text file? I didn't define anything. iBank. I'm sure I want to see iBank on here. Yeah, no, let's not do that. I didn't even know I had it. Oh, you know why? This used to be my wife's machine once upon a time, but I thought I wiped it. All right, go away. We're going to force kill iBank. Didn't even know that was still there. It's out of date. It's not even called iBank anymore. If you're a Mac user, Banktivity over Quicken. That's all I got to say. They don't pay me. I'm not a sponsor. Just like their product. Let's go to, there's also, go away. Go away. Yeah, let's use the trial. Then we'll force kill it. Did it die? There it goes. Okay, there's CSV. There's also JSON. Actually, I think there's JSON v2, but I can't remember if it's underscore v2. You can probably find out by looking at those parameters. Oh, I killed Chrome entirely by accident. Oops. Must mean it's time for the end of the show. If you kill your browser. Why are these handy? Because you can make a quick and simple integration. How did I get calculator out of Chrome? Google Chrome. Crazy. We're going to try this. Now, for JSON, I really don't recommend using the JSON processor so much as use the REST APIs, especially they'll respect ACLs. Now I got to relog again. Closed the browser, lost my credentials. Oh, I feel like I'm starting all over. Let's open a new tab, paste. JSON should return me some JSON info. It did not. I think that one's deprecated. So I'm going to put underscore v2 on there. And there's JSON v2. It's not formatted in any way, shape, or form. Some browsers will allow you to do this. You could also run it through a JSON beautifier to get that. So that one, all I did was JSON v2. I showed you XML, CSV, XLS, XLSX. These are all processors you can use, again, under system definition processors, and you can write your own. Let me find one that is of type script. There's one, agent scheduled AJAX processor. You don't have to end them with question mark and then a parameter. That's what goes up here on the parameters. But the path is actually a processor as well. Let me find one that that you've probably used before. So we can find this real quick. When we say incident underscore list.do, we're actually invoking a processor. And there's the Excel processor. We know that from some other things. The UI pages are another one where you might see something .do. It's not a table name. If it's not a table name, it's either going to be a UI page, either something you can see in system definition UI pages or system UI pages, or you can get to it through a processor. And processors are a very powerful way. I've used one to do a podcast application. I said all of my episodes of this, every show and every show episode is embedded in here, and I needed to spit back an RSS feed. And I said, hey, ServiceNow has RSS feed. In fact, that's one of the processors you can use. If I remember right, you can say RSS, and it will spit out the XML for an RSS feed. Unfortunately, we don't support the enclosure tag, which is the key component that changes a regular blog feed to a podcast feed. It's sort of like an attachment. It says, here's your RSS feed of all the content, and the attachment you want, the MP3 or the PDF or the MP4, the file you want that's attached to make this a podcast is over at this URL. It's called an enclosure tag, just like this is a generator tag or this is a link tag. You know, you're going to have something between enclosure and / enclosure. So not to get too deep into podcasts, but I had to write my own to generate the RSS feed so that you could subscribe to a ServiceNow URL, and anytime new content was there, your podcatching client would check once an hour and say, hey, go download this RSS feed again. Is there anything new? Is there anything I haven't listened to? Is there anything I haven't watched? And it would go get that. So that app, if I remember right, is available on Share, which I'm not going to go look for right now. Maybe, sure, why not? It's in the developer space. Oops, that's my developer instance. Chrome remembers just a little too well. Hopefully I'm still logged in. I'm not. Log in real fast. Darn it, I closed the browser and now everything went. I gotta start over. Terribly exciting here. And my password expires in less than 2 weeks. Crazy. One more quick tip I want to show you before I go, and that is share, home. This is not the last thing I want to show you. I want to make sure it's still here. Loaner request, Mimeo local. Did I or did I not publish the podcast? This is page 1 of 2. Maybe it's only showing 5 at a time. There it is. It is still out there on Share. Okay. Hasn't been tested in a while, and I believe it's a global app. I haven't made it scoped, but it does contain a processor if you wanted to take a look at it and see what's involved. I don't know if we still list the content. Let's see. Ratings, review, discussions, related files, update set preview, processor, maybe. Podcast processor. Sure, there it is. It's just JavaScript, and a lot of this is in a script include, as I generally do, so that it makes it easy to retrieve the title, retrieve the items, retrieve the epilogue, put this around here if the show is active, just a few other things. And there are a couple of objects which are not terribly well documented, I have to admit, but you can get gRequest and gProcessor to write the output, tell it what format. This is just your standard MIME types. So a little bit about processors. The other thing I want to show you real quick before I go, make sure you learn something today, at least I hope you do, is in the script field, somebody pointed this out. I'm going to go to, doesn't matter whether it's a script include, a business rule, what it is, system definition script includes, but there's a bug with the formatter, and you may have found this. I've found it a couple times. But if I say, let's do this, my script include, very poorly named, just so it throws that template stuff in there. Do it right. Call it Chuck function. No args. Args called no args. Subtle joke in there somewhere. And if I did if no args, just going to write a little code here with some indentation, and then said var a equals empty object, a dot name equals Chuck. Underneath that say if a dot name. All right, just a little bit of indentation to kind of get you oriented where we're going. gs.info hello. A dot name. Doesn't have to be right, doesn't have to work. I'm just showing you something. What happens if you click this little format button? This thing throws it off and it gets a little wonky. And there's an open PRB in it, but development says, you know what? I don't know if that's, I don't know what they said they're not going to fix it because it's a low priority. And there is a workaround. So if you've gotten stumped by this, or another one that I've seen that I want to test right after this, is you can select either arrange or everything and do a shift tab, and it works much better. Hotkeys are your friends, kids. Use the mouse as little as possible, and you'll get faster and more efficient, and apparently work around bugs. Because it was weird. I was doing the same thing. I said, okay, I've written this stuff. It's totally not formatted. And I said, I don't see an error. He said, no. Click the button. Why there's two different ways of doing that? I suspect it's because it's tiny MCE that's doing it. The other one that I've seen that really jacks this up is / comments on an if or a while block. Okay, got args, put that there. Still got a name. I've seen this get crazy as well. Now, with both of them, I don't know what's going to happen. Let's take this out just for grins. Does that format? Kind of. Does it change the format? No, okay. So that one may not be a problem anymore. But select all, shift tab. The reason I discovered this is because if you look at the widget designer in Service Portal, Service Portal, that's the configuration. Let's go there. I know I had a favorite for it and I just didn't use it. And you go to the widget editor and you look at the widget editor. I'm going to pull up something. Oh, look, it's artifacts from CreatorCon. There's no icons to help you with the formatting. So if your formatting gets a little out of whack, it says you can't edit this here. The only choice you have is the select shift tab. It works with the HTML, it works with the client script, it works with the server script. So that's where I got in the habit of using that. And now I just use it on all script fields, which works much better. So there's your short tip. You learned something new? Give me a thumbs up on the YouTube video, and others will find that helpful as well. And until Monday, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Take care, learn something, share something, because that's all I do for a living, and it's a heck of a lot of fun. Thanks for joining me today. Good luck watching all the old back episodes. And with any luck, we'll see you again on Monday. Take care. Have a good weekend. Bye.